Welcome to the AI Riff, where we cut through the noise and break down the top AI stories of the week with real talk and real relevance. No hype, no fluff, just a vendor agnostic take on what's actually shaping your world today. Whether you're in tech, lending, or just trying to make sense of the headlines, we're here to separate the wheat from the chaff and the facts from fiction. Now let's get started with your hosts, Mario Di Benedetto, Rob Katz, Ruth Lee, and me, Kyle Myers. We hope you enjoy this episode of the AI Riff.
We're still in our 30-somethings. Welcome back.
I stopped counting. It's not worth it. We're past the 30s. No one said we'd succeed. We're still here.
Do we get to celebrate when we hit 100? If we stop counting, how will we know when we hit 100?
I want to have more episodes than Survivor.
Oh, yeah. They're 50.
Does Survivor have? That show's been going on for a long time.
Wait, that's 50 times like at least 12 episodes per.
Oh, whoa. Yeah. No, episode season.
For like Jeopardy or... Right? I mean, that's a lot of episodes.
We got to have more than Stranger Things, right? That 5 years, how many episodes that was. So we got to break. We got to break the Stranger Things.
Okay, here we go. What are we talking about today, Mario?
So we're going to tell a little story, a little anecdote where I brought up Rob in daily life, like daily work life.
Wow.
So, and it's going to be, today's episode is going to be about whether the type of people you need to adopt AI is different than the type of people you have. And so here's the story. I was talking to somebody and they were telling the story of how they decided they were going to make their company make a left turn, a hard left, to use AI from a coding perspective. And they had, somewhere around 14, 15 total people on their development team. And they decided the way they were going to have them all go on AI is they were going to take away their tools and say, you only get to code through AI. And 3/4 of the people quit. He said, that's not what I do. I'm out. They backfilled half of the people that quit. So now they've got a team that's about, a third smaller than it was. 3.5 months later, they tell the story. They are cranking whole new apps out. They are just like total success. Like they love it. And so I hear this story and I talk about, I brought up Rob because of the way Rob talks about the way he codes with Claude and Cursor. And the reason why a developer might quit is a developer is the type of person often that loves the process of writing software, not necessarily always what they create, but the actual process of writing software. Whereas, this is, tell me if I'm wrong, Rob. Whereas I described Rob as, Rob does not have the need to write the actual code. He wants quality code. He wants a quality system. But Rob, I actually likened you, this is the way I am. I need to create the thing. Like I want to see the end thing created. That's where I get a lot of satisfaction. And I feel like this company basically forced that change in their company, right? They needed people who wanted to be able to get to the end and produce a great product and really didn't need the satisfaction of writing code. And that's a big difference from a coding perspective. And the question of the day is for coding and for everything else you do you need that big a shift in the type of person that you need to do the work if it's going to be AI related?
I think it's an intellectual property shift. The people with the IP of knowing how to code well become a bit nervous when the guy with the IP is, this type of problem, we always give it to Ted over there or Phil or whoever. That's his silo that he works. He's the best at it. And now you're saying, AI is the best at all of it. So you no longer have a specialty. You're just kind of prompting AI to build what you would normally build yourself. And anyone who has any type of knowledge around software development, you don't have to be a developer, but anyone with knowledge around software development can develop software. Myself, I'm starting down the path. Yes, me. Yeah. I'm going to build my own Roland, but I don't know what I'm going to call him yet. So, or her, I don't know. Women tend to be more productive. So maybe I'll go with a girl's name.
So I'm going to throw myself in there on this one and just say that from my perspective, what the areas of the software development, right? I mean, you still need to have, I mean, it's not like they got rid of all of their software developers. They just got rid of the people who were coding out of libraries and you know, I mean, that are doing kind of the same thing again and again and again. And you have the ability through AI to really amplify a lot of that tedious, you know, pick the pepper out of the soup type of work that is just an involvement of any type of a job. But I don't necessarily think that you're getting rid of software development. And, you know, I mean, for those who are unwilling, like, you know, in our industry or in any other industry that are unwilling to adapt to the newest and the best tools that are out there to make you productive. I mean, I remember when, you know, people were scared of those scanners, and the scanners were going to be the end of time. I mean, no, you can't have that. It will get it wrong. And as it turns out, it really didn't. And as it turns out, we didn't need to print out everything 12, 13, 15 times. And as it turns out, the people who couldn't adjust were left behind. And so that's all I'll say.
So I'll respond since my name was invoked in the conversation there. This one project that I've been putting most of my time into now, I'm going into month 5. Sole developer on it, you know, using AI. I'm not a software engineer. You guys have heard me say that over and over again. It's a brilliant application, and my business partner, who's the subject matter expert in the space we're going into, is giddy with it, and he's starting to demo it to peers of his, and we're getting unbelievable positive responses about it. And what I'll say is I have never had more fun working on a project of any kind than I have had on this, and it is because of the speed in which I see my ideas coming to life. And the fact that I don't have to take the time to write out all the code and learn the syntax and all that other stuff, it's, you know, that's the vibe coding side of it. I have a very, very structured methodology that I'm following to ensure code quality. And I'm having one AI tool double checking the other AI, you know, what they're doing and making sure it's all good and stuff like that. And at times I'm the human in the middle who's copying and pasting between 2 prompts. And I'm like, what the hell? But I do pay attention to what the AI is coding, and I stop it when I think it's going off the rails, and I challenge it and I ask questions, and I see the output, and it is, it's just such a rush. And when I've talked to software engineers, that rush of solving the problem, like I'm still solving the problem without having to spend all the time in the code, figuring out how to make the code work right and stuff like that. So I'm going to bring 2 family members into this conversation. So my son's a senior software engineer at Alaska Airlines, very much against using AI to code. He has been, that's been his position, threatened by it, not interested. And he was in town a couple of weeks ago, and I was showing him what I was doing, and he went, oh, there's some tedious stuff that I have to do. This would save so much time. I'm like, yes, it's a tool to save time. Like, he finally got it, right? So that made me happy. I'm like, it doesn't replace the smartness that you have and how to solve the problem. You can still get into the code, but it's just not as tedious. So that was really cool to see him kind of mental shift. And Mario, to your point, I think he has to, because at some point, Alaska Airlines is going to go, you guys are either efficient using these tools or you're not on the team. Like, you better be ready how to be efficient on the tool. The other kid I'm going to bring into play is my daughter, who just graduated university, 22 years old, getting into marketing and account management and stuff. And so I asked her to do something she's never done before, which was, hey, can you go create a creative brief on the company she's working with? They want to refactor their website and stuff. And she's a marketing person. Like, so we're going to hire an outside consultant to work in WordPress and make the website pretty and stuff. Go generate a creative brief. Do you know what one is? And she's like, no. I go, well, go ask ChatGPT to help you do your first. And she's like, Well, I'm going to figure it out another way. I don't want. She's anti-AI. I'm going to figure out another way. So she went to Google. She downloaded sample PDFs, and I don't know. 5 hours later, she came up with the first draft of her creative brief at whatever she's charging this company per hour. And I'm like, yeah. And ChatGPT could have kicked that out in 15 minutes. And it's just like you're not taking advantage of the tool. So I'm going to wrap this all up, Mario, to your point of it's the personalities of the people that you have on your team are either open to change, willing to take advantage of the tools that are going to make them more efficient and effective, or they're not. And if they're not, you have to scratch your head and go, do they belong on my team? Are they moving my company forward at the pace I need to move forward with? Or are they holding us back? Right. That's what it comes down to. So Mario, your story, this company that drew the line in the sand and lost staff, that is a painful thing to do. But they made a business decision commitment to optimize how they work and to get more efficient and to at least try it and experiment with it. And their experimentation right now is turning out to be successful for them. I'm sure it was a very, very painful 3 months to get over to the other side. So take that back to any other department besides software engineering. Either your folks are, Ruth, to your point, look back in my data track days when we first came out with our document imaging platform. I was in a meeting with all the closers or the shippers, and we were showing off how cool this is going to be. And they were loving it. They were giddy. And the CFO was sitting behind me because I would have stopped him from saying this. And he's like, I could fire all of them. He said it out loud. And all of a sudden they all cross their arms like, oh, this is a piece of, we're never going to do this. And they totally turned against the sale, right? I'm like, dude, use your inside voice. Use your inside voice. But the truth is yeah, anytime new technology comes out, there's a risk to people who don't embrace it and get on board with it. And you may not need everybody at the end of the day. That is what technology does, right? So
do you find it shocking who is against it though? I mean, sometimes I am talking with people who are ostensibly pretty progressive around technology, and they're like, I won't have any of that AI up in here. And I'm like, really? Like, for reals? Like, I find it shocking sometimes, the people who are so like, I'm sorry, Kyle, I interrupted you.
No, you were going down the path. I just was wondering, when they said they had to hire 6 people back, what was the job posting like? Was it for a developer or someone who likes AI? Like, what was the criteria? Because if those 11 let's say those 11 would have stayed, would they have been just cranking out even more? Or are you saying it's a personality, not a flaw, but a trait to say, I don't want to use that. I can't use that. No, I don't.
That's not what I do.
Yeah, it's not what I do.
It's a little, in this case, it's a little bit of, I felt like it was a little bit of that's not what I do. But you're making me want to do another kind of spin on it, because if I imagine those 6 people that got hired, like, think about the difference between the person who has the job and's told, no, you don't do that anymore that way. You do it this way. And they say, I'm out. And then the other person who has some sort of posting or whatever that they reply to that says, you get to code with AI.
Yeah.
Like, they're salivating. Like, are you kidding me? I get the opportunity to code with AI. That sounds like the job of the future. Like, that's fantastic. Like, I think there's like something inside people, but I also think there's just a perception, like a lot of what you were talking about, Rob. Like, there's so many factors here. And I'm not even sure in this case, I even care about the person who's like anti-AI, right? As much as the person who's like, that's not what I enjoy doing. Mm-hmm. And I totally understand not enjoying something, but
but how do you not get that intellectual property to walk out the door when you want them to change their mindset, but not lose maybe that that IP that was been developed over maybe the last 5 years, and you don't own it, they do, and you're like, so you feel almost beholden to it, right? You feel like, I don't know if I could make it. Well, it's going to be tough if we have to get rid of so and so, or if they leave. It's not a great feeling.
I'm always the worst about that. Don't do that. Like, that person is just the core of this. Don't touch them. Like, please.
Yeah, but then you have other people from the same company coming in and saying, like this person, what do they do? It's like, and that's an unfair question, right? Because they're not in their day to day. They don't know. And I defend all my team, the team that I have, because they do a lot. They do a ton of stuff. But it's hard to get your head around deploying that kind of a change without then getting the buy-in of the senior leadership to say, hey, we're going to make this change. And it could be all the same people that we have on staff right now are going to stick around and we're going to bust it. We're going to do great. But there is a risk of the 11, whatever, in your example, that leave. Are you willing to accept that for 3 to 4 months where we have low to no innovation and we're barely kind of keeping status quo? It's a risk that some CEOs are willing to take. Some may say, nope, my margins are too thin. I can't afford to take 3 months off.
It depends on, are they visionary, right? Because some people are visionary and your team is either on board or not on board. But, to your point and kind of where we've been kind of touching around, which is, if you're going to make a solid cultural shift in the way that you do something, then, people are either getting behind and pushing or they are, rowing in the wrong direction. And, either way, there is an opportunity cost, Kyle. I mean, something is going to be lost, one which will be innovation, it will be progress, and it will be continuing to marinate in the DevOps pudding that is, okay, would you like to do a little bit of this, that tedious work and stuff like that, but there's the other side of it, which is, we're going to have to test the heck out of it. And testing is kind of tedious too. It's not like that part is like, woohoo, let's just do it all the time. I can't wait to do it on my Saturday. It's hard.
There are QA people who feel that way. Kyle, you brought up the intellectual property, and what I find really interesting about the benefit of leveraging AI around that is take your legacy code, drop it into one of these tools with the instructions of document exactly how this thing works. And all of a sudden, Larry, who had all the intellectual property in his head because he's been there for 15 years and was the only guy who knew what Band-Aids were keeping it together, it's documented. And then it's making suggestions on how to improve it. Like, no human wants to go read 15-year-old code. I mean, that's not interesting to any software engineer that I know, right?
Worse, nobody wants to modify 15-year-old code.
Yeah, that's right.
Or just, you're headed for spaghetti land.
That's right. But now take one of the 6 people, and we have no idea who they are, what company it was, or anything like that. But take one of these 6 people who responded to this job of you're going to use AI to as a software engineering role, and all of a sudden this task of modifying old code is an intellectual challenge that is interesting because I'm not the one who has to go deal with the code. I'm prompting a tool that doesn't mind working in old code to unspaghettyize it or whatever it is, right? So it is a radically different role and mindset, and in my opinion, de-risks the company from, Larry has all that IP in his head, right?
Being able to just map and monitor one field, and every time that field is used, every time in every way, because half of the time with this legacy code, you're on configured, everybody's got their own configuration. They've reused a piece of data. This guy uses it in a different way than this guy uses it. And, you're not entirely sure how and where it all goes and what it touches, because sometimes you've turned those people off for 10 years now. Doesn't mean that if you rip it out, it won't hurt something because it's derivative and it hurts another field.
Yeah.
And knowing how all of that, I just think it's fascinating. I just do.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to drop an exit grenade and see if you can follow my retarded thinking here.
You can't. You're not allowed.
I'm retarded. I'm calling myself.
Okay.
I'm allowed to do that. That's legit. I just can't call other people, and I agree. I can't.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the shift and the potential different mentality that is required, kind of the attitude that's required. But part of what I heard as Rob was saying it was that there's also this elimination of the tedious. Thinking more broadly, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most likely to happen, how likely is AI to crush offshore work?
I'm going to chime in first and say 7.
Explain.
Because what you're usually handing offshore is something, one, especially in the mortgage space, where you can't, there's regulations of where things have, and you have to have offices and you have to have licensing. But so you're really getting rid of the expensive stuff. You can't touch the expensive stuff. Underwriters can't underwrite from, India. They're not supposed to, unless you have an office there, unless you have, them, all this other criteria. So you're really offshoring the real definable, straightforward tasks.
Tedious.
And so it does put a lot of pressure. I'm not saying there's not good people doing great work in India, and they're relied upon every day. But most of that stuff, if you got like the big consulting companies that have their farms in Chennai and in Hyderabad and all that stuff, and they have a bunch of people there working, they're usually all doing the same thing, and it's something you could probably get done with a good logical expression, if not AI. So
I want to come back to you and give you a chance to rescore after you listen to Rob and Ruth.
Okay.
I'll go next. So it's a phenomenal question. And, I think in disclosure, people need to know that, Mara, you're involved in a company that has offshore talent and resources, right? I've seen offshore work fall into 2 different kind of buckets. A big one is what Kyle was describing, which is you have got to provide very robust requirements because you're going to get back exactly what you asked for. And if you ask for it wrong or incomplete, you're going to get back wrong and incomplete. And that is super frustrating. And then, I'm US based. Most of the companies I've worked with that had used overseas resources in the past, that the 2:00 in the morning meetings, the time zone challenges and stuff like that, that in that kind of context, the benefit of AI based development or outsourcing stuff using AI is AI will help you refine the requirements before it starts doing the works if you prompt it the right way. So you can have an incomplete idea, work with the AI tool to make it more complete, and then get more complete stuff out of the AI. Then you have the ease of which to do that with India. One of the benefits of offshoring that former folks I've worked with really benefited was while you're sleeping, work's getting done. You wake up and there's a bunch of work in your inbox. And the problem is, well, if it's the wrong work or they're blocked, you actually lose time as opposed to gaining time, right? So that's one bucket. The other bucket is the more niche type of development. And I think really, Mario, where your experience comes into play is it's not that. They're really super qualified expert engineers who are thoughtful and recognize holes and requirements and either make good assumptions or ask the right questions at the right time. And then you're just dealing with the inconvenience of it being over, on a different time zone and some communication stuff. It's hard to grab the accents, both sides sometimes and so forth. So it's not an all or nothing answer. Do I think it can materially damage the firms that have the bigger mass market? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think it's going to damage the more niche plays? I think if anything, it'll benefit because they will also use AI and they can use it to help. Hey, I got these, these requirements. Can you help me flesh them out because I don't understand them and get answers to it and so forth. So there's going to be on one side it'll be a lift, and on the other side I think it's going to be a pretty big depression.
What's your number? What's your number?
Oh well, I can give 2 numbers then, right? I think it's an 8 for one group and a 2 on the other side, right? So
an average of 5.
50. He's middle road.
Those words never came out of my mouth, but sure. Okay.
Well, I mean, I think that it is just, by then, it is going to fundamentally shift traditional offshoring, but it's not going to eliminate labor arb, right? I mean, you still need labor arbitrage, and there are a lot of very, very talented people offshore, and they're not just doing pattern recognition. But when you get to some of the really mundane things that we offshore. I mean, we offshore some really, really mundane things. Like take this piece of paper and look at every loyalty card and make sure that you enter these 9 pieces of information into a system. You know, you are going to see pattern recognition as a part of offshoring. That's going to be a hard sell, right? I mean, AI just stands in the way, just as you're looking at, you know, onshore labor. But I will say that, you know, I agree with Rob that there are a lot of, you know, there are a lot of nichey things that people do that you need somebody who knows whether or not the pattern is wrong more than you know whether or not it's the 3 or the 8. You know?
And I'm going to stick to my, what was your number, Ruth?
Oh, I think 5.
And I'm going to stick to my 7, honestly, because of what Rob said. I think, honestly, most of this, well, this is my own experience. So most of the experience I have with offshore has been the mundane and the tedious tasks. And I think those are
they're going to get crushed.
They're going to get crushed. But to Rob's point, there's some really, really smart people who, if they use AI and they're in India and you can get them at a rate that's much less, you can actually get them an inexpensive asset producing more with AI, then they could actually lift their price a little bit and they'd be willing to pay it because they're that much more productive. So I don't know, but I'll stick with 7.
Before you wrap things there, Mario, because you have direct interaction with folks based in India, and right now I have none, what's their take on AI? Are they embracing it and maybe even potentially embracing it more than stateside software engineers, you know, like my son who's not into it, you know, because they see it as, you know, I'm pretty good, I could be really good, or is it not even really that accessible to them?
So I don't know how you came up with a 5, Rob, because the answer is an 8 and a 2. So so I have a pretty narrow view of people kind of in that space. In our view, I don't know that there is a strong push to necessarily leverage it, but I like the 8 and the 2 because, using part of your example, I do believe that somebody who has the intellectual curiosity, the drive, the opportunity to utilize it will be productive. They can do more with AI, just like you can do more with AI here. Can they do, I'm going to use you as can they do what Rob does? No, they can't, because they don't have business domain expertise. They don't have all the work experience or whatever else. But in what they do, they could absolutely be more productive. And we're experimenting with that to see if we can, if the model works, because there is the thought is that there is some low bar, that if you go below this bar, AI is not going to, it can't pull you over the bar. Like you're too inexperienced to be able to really take advantage of it. So that's
wow.
the current.
Well, we beat it. I think we've walked the dog twice, so
We
good.
did. Sorry.
Are we done? Does anyone have any parting words? Next episode, we'll get to how I used AI, because I have a story this time.
Wow.
So,
that's a tease for the next episode.
Tease for next time. You want to see how see how this clown outside the circus really used the AI. So on that note, I'm Kyle Myers.
I'm Rob Katz.
I'm Ruth Lee.
And I'm still Mario De Benedetto.
And this has been the AI Riff.
Wires hum like whispers in the deep dark night. Shadows dancing strange under neon light. Digits spinning fast like a gambler's hand. The clock chimes change, it's the new command. Oh, the future calls with a voice so clear. A melody of progress in every ear. No turning back, the wheels in motion. A tide of cold like the endless ocean. Binary we sing. Every click and hum a key that rings. A revolution, quiet, but it's vast. Building empires where echoes of futures cast. Oh, the future calls with a voice so clear. A melody of progress in every ear. No turning back, the wheels in motion. A tide of code like the endless ocean.